Yeah. Right. Okay, guys. So we're back for another podcast, and I've got a special guest with me today. And if you haven't been following them, you must have had your head under a rock or something. But with no further ado, Tmcycles. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Excited for this one. It's a big good one.
Good.
So yeah, I follow TM. I was introduced to him through sort of like social media. Obviously, I wasn't at Body Power this year, so I didn't get to meet him. But yeah, been following his stuff, got his members site, and honestly, content's amazing. So if you are following him, highly go recommend doing that. And getting a members site as well. The content's ridiculous. Definitely one of the leaders in the fitness industry. So Tim, if you just give us sort of like an update. Obviously, you've just done a couple of shows. You've just came out your competing season. So how are you doing, sort of like post show?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, mate. Yeah, weight gain, rebound, post show has been okay. Haven't gone too crazy in terms of the food. I've just entered a sort of a small 12-week lean gaining phase before dipping down
Yeah.
for a sort of mini cut and then going back into a very long off season with Callum. But the shows didn't go quite as planned this season. The NABA Southeast Classic that is
Yeah.
the show that I won last year didn't place in that, and then the season got cut short. And then I had about 2 weeks to dial in some form of condition that was acceptable for the PCA body power. So yeah, it is what it is, but it didn't go to plan, which wasn't great. But either way, it was a very enjoyable contest prep.
Yeah, I think the number one though, there was a lot of controversy around that one in terms of the feedback that they gave you. Because I mean, if you've got classic bodybuilding, if you come back any bigger, you may as well be a fucking bodybuilder, aren't you? So it's the feedback they gave you was very counterproductive in terms of what classic is really. So
Yeah.
which is obviously annoying because the condition you brought was ridiculous as well. So, but like I say, going into a long off season with Callum, do you know sort of like what goals you've set, what you aiming to get to?
Just, I mean, we're in quite a nice position in the sense that my physique is relatively well balanced. It is just now dedicating a large amount of time to increasing size all over, really, in terms of the physique, and bring in just some more tissue to the legs. Because I'd say for the first initial phases, a few years of training in bodybuilding, I didn't train my legs
Yeah,
nowhere near as I should have, and it's a trap that a lot of people fall into.
me
So
being
it's
one
like
of them.
it's almost like playing catch up now in
Yeah,
terms of bringing some real leg development.
yeah. I was literally due to do a show this September, and I've sort of just, as you sort of lean down and get a couple of weeks in, you just think, shit, what have I done in my off season here? So sort of like again, I'm in the same position you now, where I didn't train legs to the intensity that I needed to do the frequency, and now I'm sort of like, shit, I've got to bring these batters up good. So
Yeah,
yeah, take this year out, really put some growth into it, and we'll sort of see if we go again next year.
yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, just sort of growing them really. But I think with legs, it's just hard to take it there, especially when you're young and you haven't got somebody coaching you, sort of thing. Um,
It is, and equipment plays such a large role into it. I'm moving to King's Gym and having the ability to go and train at Muscleworks in Alpington as well, and have different variations to a squat is phenomenal. And I've seen significant growth in the off season that we had pre-prep with Callum utilising things like the pendulum squat,
yeah.
the hack squat. So if you can get yourself into a gym with that vast array of equipment, then you need to make the jump.
Found that sort of like the biomechanics of machines are different as well. So say I go to Ultra, that's sort of like my other gym. That's the Game Changer gym,
Sure.
and my gym has a hack, but the Atlantis hack. If you've ever used one, that
Yeah.
Atlantis hack is beautiful to use, and how I can load up on my gym's hack versus the Atlantis hack is completely different. So definitely having access to better kit, like a pendulum, like you say, will do ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, of
And like
course.
you say, a pendulum will take your life if you approach it properly. So
Yes.
yeah. So you'll definitely be seeing some good quad growth from them.
Mm.
So yeah, but yeah, obviously when you was in prep, you had the NABA, had to go back into. You had to do initially 2 peaks, didn't you? So what was the sort of toughest part of prep? Would you say?
It was just having to mentally get to grips with not placing at a show that I thought I'd win.
Yeah.
And then I've got 14 days to really dig deep when mentally I'm not in the best position in
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
of I wanted to finish it there really, but I thought, you know what, I I despise quitting, and I think it's an easy cop out just to say I didn't get the result I wanted. I'll start my off season. So we dug a hell of a lot deeper. Calories dropped to around about sort of 1,500, sub 1,500 for 14 days. Continual check-ins with Coach Callum, and what we achieved in sort of 10 to 14 days was what I was very, very pleased with. And he will definitely be on board as a coach, not only in the off season but in the next contest prep phase for 2021.
Yeah, obviously I've been following Colin for a while, but see, with my goals is almost similar to yours in terms of the IFBB card. So, anabolics and PEDs are going to be something that I will be experimenting with. So obviously having Callum as a coach, or to be fair, even you as a coach, me competing for years down the line, having a coach with the experience of you two is definitely something that I'll be looking into. But yeah, I remember seeing the YouTube video, it was about 2 days after the NABA one, wasn't it? And obviously, we could tell that he was disheartened by the result. But it was such an admirable quality. Because I know people that haven't placed in bodybuilding and they spit the dummy out, and then they've always got something negative to say about bodybuilding, like it's all rigged, or it's all. I see loads of people doing it, and then from there there's always something bad to say about bodybuilding just because they didn't place. So seeing somebody be constructive about it and having 14 weeks to dial in another show was ridiculous. So yeah, it was.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah. So obviously post-show binging and stuff like that. We've seen certain individuals. We won't name who, but post-show binging and excessive weight gain. Yeah. Obviously, we've seen you go on about it on stories and stuff. But what's your opinion behind that?
Don't get me wrong. It's very. Towards the latter stages of a contest prep, you're becoming so food focused because caloric intake is at rock bottom.
Yeah.
The relationship with food tends to be quite poor post show anyway, because you do have these influxes of such large calorie consumption, and initial weight gain is expected. You're going from a position where you're probably consuming 100 to 150 grams of carbohydrates, and then you'll go out for maybe a couple of cheat meals, and just that increase in glycogen is going to cause weight gain to jump up on the scales.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But in terms of a ballpark, 5 to 10% of what your stage weight was shouldn't really be exceeded in that 3 to 4 week window. And you look at instances where these guys are gaining 30, 40 pounds post show in such a short window. It's having such negative health impacts on not only your lipid profile, but your blood pressure, your heart's under more strain, your kidneys and liver having to function double time, having to take on board all this food, and it's not a good position to put yourself in. And the most recent vlog with Joe, who's just won his IFBB Pro card, he's had to pull back quite dramatically because he's gained a hell of a lot of weight in such a short space of time. And look, it can easily be done, and I'm not like pointing the finger and saying that I'm perfect. I'm far from perfect. But there needs to be this level of education now where we need to bypass views for fucking YouTube, because that's what they are. And these thumbnails with 10,000 calorie cheat day, but they get views and they get engagement and they get comments.
It's so bad.
That isn't the correct way to go down, because as a first-time competitor, if we're talking about the person in question that we are talking about, his audience is very, very young. It's
literally, I get guys, see, I'm a full-time PT, so I get guys coming into my gym and they're like, I saw Brandon Harding do this, or I saw Glenn Gillen do this, and Glenn Gillen, he's another one, epic. He's eating pizza on prep.
Yeah, it's not needed, and the American guys over there as well doing it, and it's a dangerous game to get into, and coupled with that binge eating alongside that complete disregard to post-cycle therapy and knowledge around anabolics is a combination that can put someone in a hospital or fucking dead.
That's what I mean, because there's no attention to individuality. These people, especially the ones that are admitting it, they could be using PEDs for all we know. And obviously, these people, even you, for instance, sitting on a large amount of subscribers, you've got more power than a small country. So whatever you say, this little army of yours are going to follow, aren't they? So luckily, thankfully, you're addressing, a good message. But people like Brandon, people like Glenn, they could be on PEDs. Like, you're going to have all these young kids not only jumping on them, but eating like them as well. What works for one doesn't work for another. So you have to always be making sure that you're doing something individual, just by getting a coach again helps because
Yeah.
we can cover these variables. But yeah, the worst thing as well, which again I see we sort of doing like your Ibiza preps and stuff like that, is obviously no PCT post cycle, which again is, even though I haven't taken anything yet, I'm doing my research and it's still completely unknown to me as to why you wouldn't do that. Even on a blast and cruise, you'd still incorporate some sort of low cruise and eventually go into a PCT, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's massively disregarded, and I think a lot of people think that if they're using some form of anabolic that's considered weak, that their rebound will be quicker or their recovery will be quicker, which to a certain degree, based on an individual's genetics, that can be the case. I've had clients come on board that have had low dose testosterone, that we've waited for the clearance time, and there's been some FSH and LH movement within that window. But even then, I'd still have them on some form of post-cycle therapy just to ensure that recovery is adequate and sped up. So blood work is a massive feedback marker here. But to outrightly say PCT isn't needed if you're young is dangerous. And the reason being is, I'd say it's, if not more important at this stage than when we're younger, because if you're 35, 40 and you've had kids and you have a family, then in terms of the necessity to get your own natural testosterone production, is it really that much of a bigger deal? Probably not. But at this age, 20 to 25, you need to be on top of your levels.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's why blood work and stuff like that. Again, I must admit though, you go back a couple of years ago when there was no people like you and JP and that, it seems like everybody was just doing it and leaving it. But now sort of like, using Medichecks, getting your blood work done, I've noticed as soon as I've seen people you start doing it, and other, anabolic users doing it, everybody else has started doing it. So it's like, what was everybody doing before? And there's nobody been getting the blood checked. So it's weird how the industry's changing, and
of course,
what the hell have we been doing beforehand? Because people's bodies must have been fucked.
It's important, and I used to use my GP a lot of the time for blood work, and thankfully we have a relationship where I can walk in and say, look, this is happening, and he'll get me a test. But then, in terms of the ease of access and just the quickness of turnover results, I tend to go for like Medi checks just to so I can choose and opt for what numbers that I wanna see.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Ibiza in September, I believe. So that'll be 4.0, will it?
Correct. It will be. Yes.
So Ibiza plans, walk us through that. What's happening in Ibiza?
Yes. It's this one's not with the missus.
It's not
with a few of the friends. So I think we're flying out September 25th. There's music on. There's on Saturdays Anton Elro closing, and Sunday there's Solomon at Pasha. So it'll be a nice little end, and then this whole 12-week lean bulk's been documented in its. It'll be nice to see if we can keep body composition acceptable, and then see how much tissue can be built within such a small surplus, and then that also puts us into a nice position where at the end of the 12 weeks we've got a nice 6-week window to drop calories and get into some form of condition for Ibiza, because I don't. Who doesn't want to be in condition for Ibiza?
Yeah, of course.
Probably a lot of people, but I like to be okay on holiday.
How do you find sort of like alcohol and just general the relaxation, the downtime of holidays in correlation with your physique? You sort of appear more bloated, more watery. What's your condition like? After sort of like a heavy day on booze.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge drinker, to be honest. I never have been, and when I do drink, I opt for spirits. So I've never been like a beer or cider kind of guy, just because the caloric intake in those drinks are so much. Yeah. But I mean, 9 times out of 10, when you, especially in some form of deficit, what you'll notice is when you have you consume some spirits, you'll probably wake up a lot lighter the next morning because you've got dehydration on board. Yeah. But then I don't see the fun side of getting completely obliterated in both senses of drugs and drink. It's just, I've always been a low dose kind of guy in all aspects. So when I'm on holiday, I let my hair down, and I'm going to Mykonos with Elle in a couple of weeks' time, and that will just be completely relaxing, food, red wine, etc. But I don't really push it, just enjoy myself. And mentally in my head I'll have some form of understanding how much I'm eating.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not too anal in the sense that I'm on holiday and I'm tracking.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in my head I'm guesstimating. I'm sort of using my fitness power in my own head to put things into perspective and say, oh, I haven't really had much food today. I might have a big dinner, sort of thing.
Yeah. That sort of does as well when we sort of see the off season is very sort of influential on your in season as well. So if you're binging now and gaining excessive amounts of fat, little mistakes and slip ups like these are going to make your prep next time around a lot harder out there. So it's a case of thinking forward, really. So which is a good idea. Again, most people do just sort of like, right, show's done, I'm just going to get big as fuck now, and they sort of binge and next prep round doing a bit of a shitstorm, aren't they? So forward planning is always good. Always good.
No, it's a very good point.
Yeah. So obviously, I've watched this multiple times now, but the modafinil video, I absolutely loved that video. Sort of sparked your re-interest in sort of like research into nootropics and even like microdosing and stuff like that. So sort of like, what's your opinion and even experience on that type of subject?
Yeah, I think in terms of the microdosing, the LSD, I think that study's coming out either this year, towards the late stages of this year, or next year, and that's based on, I think it's the PTSD sufferers that have been microdosing, and then also those that are looking for the benefit of cognitive function. But I came about modafinil, I'm not too sure how I came about. I think I was creating a video about cognitive enhancers, and then I saw and suggested that, you know, modafinil was used for a lot of individuals. And I think the BBC did a topic on it as well, that a lot of American students were using. Yeah. And for obviously universities, and the forever increasing amount of workload for young children is having quite detrimental effects. So they're opting for things like modafinil. But I tried I think it was a 50 milligram tab that I might have used, or it might have been half a 50 milligram tab.
I think it was half that you used.
And I've been into cognitive enhancement for a couple of years since coming on board with De Novo Nutrition, and Ben Escrow, who is the founder of De Novo and the creator of things like Utopia, which is just, I thought it was a fantastic different path that can be implemented within the bodybuilding world. Obviously, we're looking to get into that zone when we're training, and if we pump ourselves too much of the stimulant side of things, it can kind of taper off a little bit. Yeah. So really tapping into that cognitive side of things as well as within a pre-workout, I think was fantastic. So it just went from there really, and I tried some, and the workload immediately increased. It's very, very noticeable. You can get side effects like a slight increase in heart rate, and if you take it too late during the day, just be very careful that it's not affecting your sleep. But I think, you know, low dosing that for those that are in stressful environments or jobs is a fantastic tool to utilise and tap into. Yeah.
I've actually got an order of that Utopia coming in, so I'll be interested to see how that goes. Because like I say, my job sort of, we're doing shifts and then obviously running my own business and stuff like that. Sleep deprivation is very sort of like negative on my work rate and productivity. So nootropics for me meant I could sort of do more with my time and be more efficient in terms of what I get done. Because, you know, time is money, and I always like to be doing something. So, you know, I've got plans coming up, you know, in terms of business moves and stuff like that. So a nootropic is definitely something that I'm looking into. I started supplementing with the whole, like, you know, ashwagandha, 5-HTP, Vit D, multivit. So health side and stuff, it's something that I always neglected. Because for me, if it wasn't going to get me big, I was never going to take it. But obviously now, as I've sort of experienced a bit more in terms of, like, you know, mental health and stuff like that, you know, supplements like that, I've, you know, definitely been looking into.
They're fantastic, mate. They're fantastic, and I think it's only since really being on top of the health side of things, listen to those like Dr. Dean St. Mark, where that area into, because I think a lot of us overlook the basics like sleep and like health supplementation because we feel okay, but then when you start really digging deep and looking into the effects that minimal sleep has on things like blood glucose, for example, and then it starts to become, you know, quite daunting, the negative effects of low sleep. So, yeah, those, as mentioned, those supplements are fantastic. I've been using the sleep stack. I've been using ashwagandha now for for every single night for months.
Yeah.
And for the relatively cheap price and the benefit it has on individuals' cortisol and stress hormones and sleep is very much worth it.
Yeah. Would you say sort of brand of these supplements will vary in terms of effect? So say, for instance, I've got the Olymp ashwagandha. Would you say sort of different brands of these supplements will tend to make a difference?
As long as the ashwagandha's KM66, the patented form, then it shouldn't differ too much.
Okay.
Generally with the ashwagandha, I've just got some from Biohack, which is quartz KSM66, and you've obviously got estrogen in there to help with nutrient uptake. So either that or Strom Sports Support Max Neuro is fantastic, phenomenal. And alongside ashwagandha, you've got things like lion's mane and bioperine in there as well. So all in all, a very solid all-in-one that that doesn't have to necessarily be utilised before bed as well. I'll sometimes to flip the switch. I'll use ashwagandha post cardio or post a heavy leg session, for example, to get that heart rate back down to be in a position where we could consume and digest food adequately.
Yeah. Because my mood's very correlative with the weather, you see, and obviously being in the UK, the weather's usually generally quite shit.
Yeah.
So even just little supplements like vitamin D and stuff like that, like even like your videos when you're here. I mean, obviously you're generally by nature quite a bubbly person, but your videos as opposed to when you're here versus in places like Ibiza and stuff, you can almost see the difference like straight away. And obviously that, my mood is very much the same, so supplementing vitamin D has seen huge impacts in my mood and overall performance.
Of course, yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. But obviously, so when you've been around doing this for quite a while now, and your sort of progression within not only the industry, but in terms of just generally Tmcycles from the start to now, is something that I'm going through almost myself. So it seems that when I'm watching all your old videos, when you were starting out, you was the only guy doing what you was doing, and you've just sort of like took that opportunity and just absolutely killed the game. So obviously when you were starting up, did you sort of have any hurdles with people sort of like, did you get any grief for it? Obviously doing YouTube and stuff like that, usually I usually get people sort of laughing at me and stuff like that. Did you sort of have any hurdles starting up?
In terms of the approach to creating some form of brand, whether that's on YouTube or Instagram, I think that's the biggest barrier for most people is the self vlogging and making it all about you. It tends to scare a lot of people off,
100%.
and we're in an environment now where a lot of people are very, very concerned about what individuals think of them and the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they hold themselves. And I think I learned to try and detach myself from that quite early on.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's one of the biggest areas about building a successive brand is not to try and manipulate or change anything about yourself to emulate those at the top. I think it's fantastic that you can draw inspiration from guys at the top and you can try and utilise some key features that they do. But what I'm seeing is this sort of continual spiral of people trying way too hard to become and base their whole image on that person. So as long as once you start up and you dial in on that niche, whatever that is, it can range from strength training, anabolics, it can be any type of niche that is that you're almost proud of, then you just continue tapping in there. You put content out and just be careful of putting content out for the sake of content.
Of course.
As well. There's no pressure on me to upload a video. People say, "Oh, when's the next video?" I said, "Well, the next video is when I want to upload the fucking video."
Yeah, of course.
I'm not sticking to every video is Monday and Thursday.
Yeah.
If I want to go on a 4 or 5 day break and not film myself, then I'll do so.
Yeah.
And then that alleviates any potential pressure that you need to put on yourself. So it's very cliche, mate. You don't need me to tell you, but why you would hold back on filming yourself based on what people think about you is that's just completely fucking ridiculous, mate.
Yeah, I've sort of grown to enjoy it anyway, because I mean, in my area, not only am I sort of like one of the youngest PTs, but I'm sort of the only guy that sort of like covers the whole Instagram social media. So my videos, word spreads fast about them. So I get people saying, "Oh, I see videos, I learned this." So I feel like I'm in a good opportunity to say maybe a couple of years down the line. And again, this isn't me emulating you, but I've drawn a lot of inspiration from you simply because your journey has been it has a lot of similar traits to mine. So with the work that I'm doing, you know, a couple of years down the line, it's sort of, I could have sort of almost dominated this area in terms of YouTube content,
and
social media.
That's perfect for you. You know, I'm in London. It's a very saturated market, and it's taken time, and it will take time. And patience is. I've seen so many people break because they've had enough.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in the game 7 years, and I'm still at numbers that aren't, you know, nothing to write home about. I've got 40 odd thousand on YouTube and 20 odd thousand on Instagram, but it's only now that I'm seeing some form of growth.
Yeah.
So you just take your time, mate, and whatever your main job is, don't leave that or don't quit that too early. You build what you have as that side hustle until the point comes where you think, right, this side hustle of training and online coaching and YouTube's taken over here. Maybe it's time I took the jump.
Yeah. Patience is key. But I've always implied that anyway, just from the sake of bodybuilding, because I was stiff then. I was around 56 kilo when I started, and obviously in terms of taking out mini cuts, sitting at around 86, something like that. So that patience is key. You know, I've put hours of work. I've gone into the gym after hours, woken up at stupid o'clock to film these videos, and spent hours editing to get sometimes 15 views. So that sort of smack in the face has always implemented that I have to be patient. And like I say, slowly now, I'm getting the numbers that I'm quite happy with. The progress is coming along. So yeah, patience outweighs above all.
Yeah, so. and another thing to touch on that is even if you're getting, there should be no change from when you're getting 15 views to 15,000 views. If someone comments on your channel at 15 views, you respond to them and you say thank you.
Yeah.
If someone comments at your channel at 15,000 views, I don't care how many fucking comments there are. The people that have got me in the position, individuals like yourself that support the channel. Yeah. So at no point do you turn your back. At no point do you think you've got 50,000 followers that gives you some fucking right to then ignore people. Far from it.
Yeah, honestly.
So, and that's the part that I despise is the numbers start growing for certain people and they have this, they have this aura about them that they don't need to then thank their fans. Far from it.
That is something that hits right home. I've seen people, even I've got more followers than these people, and these guys are sitting on 8 to 10,000 followers, and the people are asking these guys questions, genuine, just normal guys. They've got a struggle, like me, sort of reaching out to you, and they'll post the reactions on the story, and it'll just be one word answers. Just as if they've got that follower, so it puts them on a pedestal that they're better than them. It drives me insane. And they, because they get the views and stuff, and I think that no matter how far I end up going in this game, or how far qualified, or just generally how far I go, my experience will always rebound back onto my audience, and I will always be giving back, because if it wasn't for your audience, you wouldn't be where you are today, would you?
No, precisely, exactly.
So yeah. But so back to sort of training and stuff like that, what are you running setup wise? Is it different from prep, or have you sort of transitioned into something a bit more flexible?
Some very small tweaks with slightly more emphasis on leg frequency and arm frequency, but I'm running a sort of upper lower push pull, and then focusing on a different leg split and having quads and hams split up. Yeah, which I tend to prefer, and then I'll probably do one session where there's an adequate or an equal split, between my hamstrings and quads. I just think that those lower sessions where you have both of those muscle groups together can become very taxing, and one tends to take over than the other. So that way, then I'll drop volume right down. So yesterday, for example, I did quads and hams, and it was only 6 sets on each. Any more than that, I think that fatigue will kick in, and I then push volume up for those individual sessions. So quads I'll then hit 8 to 10 sets, hams I'll hit 8 to 10 sets. So there's no huge change. It's sort of taking areas that Callum programmed over 2 or 3 training programs and picking out what I enjoyed most from them, really. Yeah.
I've definitely became a massive fan of the whole sort of splitting your legs into sort of like quad and ham dominant days, simply because I found that by training in different frequencies, each muscle is responding to different types of training. for example, my quads absolutely blow up. Seen some huge difference in terms of sort of like higher rep training. Whereas my hamstrings, I can absolutely batter them on the top set on RDLs or some sort of like leg press variation. So if I was to do those in one session, I'd struggle on how to sort of nail them both and progress at all costs. I don't really think you can.
Of course.
So, I think for growth and stuff like that, splitting those into 2 days is been phenomenal for my leg growth. I've seen some, big differences, and I'm looking forward, towards the end of the year and seeing where I'm going to be at.
Of course, yeah, no, perfect.
Yeah. So, when obviously you train, do you train? What are your sort of training goals? Are you hoping for like certain weights or numbers, or are you generally just chasing sort of like looks and condition?
For me, I mean, as it's the sport of bodybuilding and it's not necessarily strength or strongman training, there's no real emphasis on an end goal for a certain lift. There may be some, like an RDL, for example, I'd quite like to progress and get that past 200 for a set amount of reps. But for me, it's just a continual progression on scale weight with body composition still relatively acceptable and weights increasing within the gym. There's not necessarily an end target for any particular movement pattern.
Yeah.
It's just looking through the logbook and going, right, if we can add an additional 2.5 or even a 1.25, that's what I tell my clients. Progression is progression.
Of course,
don't think because you're not whacking 5 kilos on the side on your bench every week is what should be the goal.
Yeah.
And I checked in with my other client yesterday, Tony, and who felt that his relationship with training and his sort of mind to muscle connection and quality of lifting is improved, which is fantastic.
Of course, yeah.
Which is often overlooked. I think we're either chasing reps or weight on the bar, and you don't want that relationship with the lifting to dip off at any point. So focusing on just the quality of the movement and execution of the movement's a massive factor here as well.
Yeah, because obviously we have to, in terms on an anatomical level, what causes a hypertrophy response is not these sort of 1 to 3 rep maxes, is it? So if bodybuilding is a goal, if size is a goal, if size is the prize, we have to assess when creating a training program what are these reps equating to. So creating that hypertrophy rep range is always going to be far more superior than pulling that 1 rep max, which I'm sure deep down we all want to do. We all just want to load that bar up and rip a 5-plate deadlift or more. But when we're training for size, is that really necessary? And as I'm saying this is something I've done myself. Because I was young, I always wanted to lift the more smart weight, thinking it'd make me bigger. But as I've sort of reprogrammed my mind, reprogrammed my training, I've now realised that's it's not the way to go for creating a hypertrophy response, is it?
Exactly, mate. Precisely.
Yeah. So obviously, in terms of competing, it'll be sort of like into next year now, maybe mid-end of 2020, won't it? Yeah. Obviously, they probably won't release shows, but do you have any sort of idea of sort of like shows-wise what you're hoping to go for back into Napa?
In terms of the shows in 2021, I mean, I've done PCA. I think the way that it was laid out and organised was spot on. In terms of potential other shows, maybe a Two Bros. I know Josh Bridgman's competing in about 8 or 9 weeks' time, possibly longer, and which I'll go to that as well, just to get an understanding and setup of how that's looking as well. And I think with the way that classic bodybuilding is going at the moment, it would be in my best interest to jump back on stage when there is some form of understanding. The judges, the judges say to us, "Look, we're looking for this," and that way I can go, "Okay, right, this is what I need to do to my physique." And at the moment, I think from federation to federation, classic is the judges don't quite know, they haven't put their thumb on what they're looking for.
Of course, yeah. So obviously, your competing career, have you sort of transitioned from bodybuilding to classic, or have you always been classic from day one?
In terms of my actual physique, even as a junior, I competed on the junior bodybuilding stage at Nava and came third. And then generally my genetic structure and makeup is more geared towards classic. I have a fairly large shoulders. My back's in acceptable area for the width based on swimming for a long amount of time as a young kid. And my waist stays tight even on off season. So for me, it's just about getting that X frame and nailing some big legs here and very much staying with classic.
Yeah. So obviously I see a lot of people that generally like to make the jump from physique to sort of like bodybuilding or classic. That's something that I often see a lot. It's weird how sort of like, you know, you change your off season, that growth can always cause that jump. Do you reckon that do you reckon you jump back to bodybuilding, or would you always stay within that classic division?
Yeah, never. I'd always stay classic.
Yeah.
I'm genetically not a big guy, and when I start pushing over 100 kilos in terms of my body weight, my body doesn't like it. You know, my bloods aren't great. My blood pressure shoots up. I'm meant to be a relatively smaller guy.
Yeah.
You know, genetically, my family are tall and skinny. You know, so it's hard for me to gain some considerable size. But I will very much stay in classic. And you've got guys like Breon that are, you know, that are not tiny in the sense that they're of muscle mass, but tiny in terms of proportion and height. So, and they do some serious damage on stage.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Obviously at the Olympia level, even sort of like, you know, Bomstead, those guys are stacked in real life. So, you know, classic physique is no joke really. You know, you can put on some serious size while still maintaining that classic taper, that X frame, which is good because obviously, like I say, I won't really want to be competing and feeling small. You always want to feel superior within your division, won't you?
Of course.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, you've been sort of having social media, Instagram, YouTube, stuff like that. When, you know, your member site, how did that come about, you know, in terms of creating it? What sparks that idea to create one?
That was just through YouTube really, and YouTube's stance on anabolic steroids, and it was, I had about 2 strikes on my YouTube, and if I had another one, my whole channel would get taken down. Yeah. So it was at that point where I thought, right, I'm going to move the anabolic steroid side of things, whether that's injection protocols, whether that's post-cycle on-cycle support, to a members site, and that way we not only have the videos, but we have a forum page as well. So if anyone has any questions on anabolics or need feedback on their blood work, for example, then we can utilise that members site, and it's all in one little hub for everyone. So that was the only reason why we jumped over.
Yeah. How long has that been going now, the member site?
Just over a year. It's been going, and we're sitting on just under 1,400 members now, which is good, which is fantastic. And it's at that point now where I'm reinvesting into the members site and getting on board videographers to film training sessions for us, and then the goal really is to expand and really tap into that classic area, and get some more classic bodybuilders on board and on the site, you know, to do journals and to do logs and things like that. Yeah.
It's a good idea. Is that sort of that bringing in other athletes within your niche is really going to expand Tmcycles as a brand. And do you have any sort of plans, sort of long term with it, in terms of, you know, you could bring out merch, you could bring out, I don't know, supplements maybe, possibly? Have you got any sort of plans to go into that?
The next one is clothing. That's pretty much in the pipeline. The designs have been finished, and I've just been buying various different t-shirt qualities and styles just so I can nail what I want. I tend to be quite OCD and picky about certain styles and branding, so I'm looking for that top tier premium quality, and I've sort of finally nailed that. So now I just need to get them in and get them pressed, and then we'll have season 1, which will be the Tmcycles, and then we'll have season 2s and 3s in the future. Yeah,
I've definitely been following that and waiting for the drop, but that attention to detail, that OCD nature is going to absolutely... You imagine that, this attention to detail now, once you drop them, imagine, you know, once people get their hands on them, it's not just a fruit of the loom, or it's not just a standard one. It's gonna blow people's minds away, the quality.
Of course.
But I think as well, from analysing your videos and stuff, that OCD is not just applicable to your t-shirts and product production. It's the entire thing. It's your YouTube, it's the member site. It's also clean and aesthetic, isn't it? And you can really see the work that's been put into it. And you even use the same site as me, so I use Wix as well. So sort of using that software to make it look as clean as yours and other people that use Wix is definitely something that I've been working on a lot.
Yeah.
So nice. But yeah, like I say, I mean, I'm going on just over half an hour now, so that's more or less all the questions wrapped up now. So is there anything you want to add on to this episode?
Not at all, mate. Just thank you for having me on board, and I wish you all the best in your your future ventures as well, my man.
No, it's been a pleasure having you on, and hopefully people will like this one, and we're looking to getting you on again in the near future.
Perfect, mate.
I've got my alarm set for Ibiza 4.0 and these t-shirts to drop.
Nice, so, perfect.
Whenever you're ready. Right, guys, so thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.